Hello, and welcome to the English Lesson Cafe. My name is Mark, and today we're going to have a question answer session. I have a guest today. Her name is Hillary. She's my wife and an ESL tutor as well. Hello, Hillary, and welcome.
Hello, thank you.
It's good to see you today. Wait,
It's good to see you.
I've already seen you. So, yes, as I said, this is my wife, Hillary. A quick question, Hillary. How do you normally greet someone? I just said hello, Hillary, and welcome. How do you normally greet somebody?
I think I just usually say hello, hi, hey, depending on who it is. If it's someone I'm really familiar with, I might just say hi or hey. If it's someone I'm not as familiar with, or maybe in a more proper setting, I would say hello.
Okay. All right. Well, normally I say, "Hey, hello, how you doing? Hey, how are you?" That's normally how I greet someone. I speak in a very informal way most of the time. Most of the time, I'm just with friends and family. But that's my personality. I'm just very casual. If you're gonna just every day when you're speaking to someone, how do you normally address people? In a casual form or in a formal form?
It depends on the situation. Just like I said before, it depends. Like if I'm going to meet someone, I'm meeting them for the first time, I would usually say hello, how are you? It's good to see you, good to meet you. But if I'm seeing a friend or family member, hey, hi. I just wanted to put in that I do hear you say howdy often as well.
Yeah, I do. I'm wondering if I
I
say
know.
I'm wondering if I say that, do I say that to you? Like, "Howdy."
Sometimes.
I probably do. Um, then again, I'm not a very serious person most of the time. Um,
I know.
yeah. So I may say howdy to you like, "Howdy." Uh, usually it's in a goofy way. Goofy, in a funny way. So let me ask you a real quick question, Hillary. Um, are you married?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
we were married back in 2002, if you recall.
I do recall.
Okay.
Recall. If I recall, um, what do you mean by recall?
Recall is another word for remember.
Okay. Yes. I do remember. I do recall. Yes. It was a long time ago though, it seems, doesn't it?
Yeah, sometimes it seems like a long time ago. Sometimes it seems like it was really not that long ago.
Like
But
yesterday.
attesting to our ages and the ages of our children, it's probably been a long time ago.
Yeah. Uh, tell me a little bit about yourself first. Uh, just real quick, what's your background? What kind of work did you do before you got married and had children? And kind of won the lottery when you hooked up with me. Um, what did you, what was your previous life like? What is your background?
Well, I was born and raised in Tennessee, a small town in America in the state of Tennessee. I'm an only child, so it was me and my parents. I lived next to my grandparents, so I always had a good, close relationship with them. And went to college, got my degree in elementary education, taught in the public school system for a couple of years, and then I met you, and my life totally changed. And so here I am. I homeschool our three children and stay here and teach online as well.
Very good. Very good. And do you have background teaching English as a second language? How long have you been involved with that? And is it something you really enjoy?
I began teaching English as a second language to children in China. It was only children, no adults, only children. I did that for several years until the company changed, and then now I teach some adults, some children, um, in various places throughout the world.
Very good. Very good. Uh, we'll go ahead and start with some of the question answer that we were planning on doing today. Um, it's going to be about friends, about family. Are friends more important than family, do you think? Or is family more important? And um how do we separate friends and family sometimes? Like for me, there are some people obviously that are family. We obviously have some people that are friends, but sometimes we even have friends that are like family. Obviously they're all very important. What but what do you think? How do you feel about friends and family?
Well, this is an interesting question. And I think because of me being an only child, when I was a young person, when I was a student in school, my friends became more like my brothers and sisters. And so I had really close female friends, I had really close male friends, and they became like brothers and sisters to me because I didn't have any. And so I think even from that point, friends became very important for me just to have that social connection with someone my own age. And so, as I think about it, I have friends that I have had for almost my entire lifetime. I have a friend right now who I met when I was 7 years old, and we're still friends. So, almost my entire life, I've had that friend. I have another friend who I've known for at least half of my lifetime. So, friends like that, I consider almost like family. Um, and then I have my family, and I have some family that obviously I have a great relationship with. Some of my family I've never met in my lifetime. Some of my family I haven't seen in quite a long time because of not agreeing on things and their attitudes. So I think it's a lot dependent upon the relationship that you have more than whether they're classified as friends or family. It's more about the relationship. So if there's people there that you can connect with, that you love, and they love you, and that you have a good time with when you're with them, I don't think that it matters whether they have a friend's name or a family name. I think it's pretty equal when you have people like that. So I don't think one is more important than the other. I think it's the relationship that matters.
Right. We go through it's school friends are kind of interesting because when we're in school, especially elementary school, middle school, uh, we make friends and there are contemporaries. They are our ages at the time. Um, and we think as a child that we will have these friends forever. And that, oh, this is my best friend, and we're going to do these things throughout our life, and we're always going to know each other. But that's not the way it is. People move, families move. As we get older, we may move the same town that we grew up in. And so we lose a lot of contact with the lifelong friends that we thought we had in elementary school. Um, and the same probably goes through with even high school. Sometimes you reconnect with friends, but now one thing that yeah, I moved around, you know, growing up, so I lived in different cities, different locations, different states, and uh, something our children and you experience more so than myself is the ability to live and be close to your cousins. And so it's interesting around the world, some people who don't have siblings, they have cousins, which are your mother and father's siblings' children. So your aunt and uncle have children, they are your cousins, and they call their cousins brother and sister. So I may ask somebody from Asia, from let's say China, and if I say, "Do you have any brothers and sisters?" They may say, "Yes, I have three." And knowing the situation, involved with people having children in China for a period of time, I'm kind of surprised you have three brothers or sisters. And when you really find out they have cousins, but they call them brothers and sisters because they were so close, they were like brothers and sisters. Now, I had close cousins growing up, not necessarily in location, but in relationship. And but we lived in different places. So we did not have, even though we were close when we got together, we were very close. We weren't necessarily like some cousins maybe live next door to each other or close by to each other. And I know your family situation, you had cousins that were geographically close together. And so you were able to experience that, which is, it's kind of interesting. It will, we can't change the past. We can't change how we grew up. It's just the way it is, and it's not good or bad necessarily either way. But I do think about how fun it would have been also to have lived next door or close to cousins to be able to have almost as brothers and sisters. Was that your situation? Or you had some that were very close?
Um, so yes, my cousins did live close by. I had more of a relationship with my mom's side of the family than my father's side of the family. So my cousins on my father's side, I wasn't really close to. I didn't even really know them. If you would, I knew who they were. I could say their names. I might recognize them in the store, but to know them, there wasn't that relationship there. However, with my mom's side of the family, my two of my cousins lived like just across the yard, and then another cousin lived just down the road, and then my other two cousins on my mom's side were really close. They lived in the same city. So we got together every Saturday. We went to their house, they came to our house. We were together very often.
You said across the yard. What do you mean by across the yard? So you said you had some cousins across the yard.
So, yes, I lived in a certain location. Next to me was my grandparents' house. Next to my grandparents was my cousin, aunt, and uncle's house. And so when I mean across the yard, I mean I would go outside of my house, walk in front of my grandparents' house, which was their yard, or as some people say, their lawn. So I would walk across there to get to my aunt and uncle's house where my cousins lived. I had two cousins that lived in that house. One was the same age as me. She was a girl. And then another cousin who was a boy who was 4 years younger than me. My cousin who lived down the road from me, down the street, he was 10 years older than me. So he and I didn't have a very close relationship because, like, he was 18 and I was 8. So there wasn't a whole lot of connection there because we were living in different kind of time periods. And then my other two cousins who lived in the city or in the town, they were both boys. One was my age, one was 1 year younger than me. So we had a lot of the same friends. We had a lot of the same teachers. We went to the same school. So we were very close because we had a lot of connections in that way.
God, everybody has a different upbringing, a different, say demographic, a different atmosphere of family growing up. And thankfully, I know we were both blessed to be able to enjoy family and extended family. So that's a very positive thing. It's always fun to hear about, for me, to hear about other people's families and how they grew up in their living situation. That American culture to me years ago was very strong with family. The family was very strong. It was the core of their life almost. They relied on each other. They helped each other out through the years. Some lived together. Some followed in their family's footsteps with their business. Our culture in America used to be, I think, a little stronger because family was very important. I see some other cultures who are still kind of in that same family unit, and they may live together in the same house, or they may have lived together in the same house, in the last generation. And they tend to be more of a helpful, kind of a unit that maybe we have lost in America over the years. So you've already answered this question. How many children do you have? We have 3, 2 boys and a girl, and they're all almost adults now. So, it's been enjoyable. They've been very close together as well. So, and they're still very close. Do you live with your grandparents, or have you ever lived with your grandparents?
No, I lived next door to my grandparents, but we never lived with them. My grandparents never lived with me.
I had a student this morning that I taught, and she's from Japan. And she was talking about, interesting that we're having this conversation today, that I was asking her about the housing situation and when they go to visit family, when she goes to visit her parents. And of course, her mom and dad have a house. And apparently they built that house next door to her grandparents' house years ago. And I guess she told me for the first year of her life, when she was born, uh, I, I think she said that her parents, either she lived with her grandparents for a year with her parents, or her parents, when they got married, they lived there for a year. I think that's what she said. And so it was kind of interesting. But, after about a year, they said, we need to build another house to have our own home. And house and home. I use those two words interchangeably, even though they're really not the same. To me, a house is the structure, and a home is the atmosphere. A home is really the family unit together in the house. Would you agree with that?
I had this discussion with a student once before as well. And the only way I could describe it is that if I'm driving down the street, I see a house. That's a house. There may or may not be anyone living in it. But if I say that's my grandparents' home, that means my grandparents are living in there. That is where their residence is. They stay there. This is our home. This is where we live. So you can see many houses, but you don't know whose home they are, or if they are a home for anybody. Maybe nobody lives in it. It's just a house that's sitting. And so that's how I ended up describing it for my students. So yeah, kind of the same, that there's many houses, but once the family is inside of that house, it becomes a home.
Okay. Can you think of any kind of sign that people hang in their houses of, this is a house, but this makes a home? I can't remember. There's like something like hammers and nail make a house, but love makes a home, or something like this. And so
Mm.
I don't know if that's the saying, but it's something similar. And it's kind of interesting. You can have a great house without having a good home. Sometimes you can have a not so great house and a fantastic home. All right. Do you live with your parents now?
No, I lived with my parents up until we got married, though. So even after I was in college, graduated from college, I lived with my parents until we got married. So I stayed with them until I was 22, 23, something along those lines.
I'm a firm believer in being able to take care of your parents, as they need it, just as they took care of you as a child when you needed it. That's a very important dynamic of a family that sometimes gets lost in culture over time.
For the short period of time that your parents were living with us, um, I was pregnant with our third child, and we had our other two. So it was a very big blessing for them to be there. If we needed to run out and do something, they were available. I know that your mom helped me a lot, going to doctor's appointments for my pregnancy at the time, and then once our baby was born. And so it was really nice to be able to have them there. I'm sure that them having their own way of living and us having our own way of living, you have to kind of combine those together.
True.
But it really was a blessing because of the time they got to, one, spend with their grandchildren, just being there, the time we got to spend with them, and two, for the helpfulness. I mean, we would decide who's cooking supper that night. So dinner, supper. So we would change about, like, sometimes I would cook, sometimes your mom would cook. And so we would just kind of get together on things like that. So it was, there were really, really great things about it. Obviously, there were things that it was like, oh man, how's this going to work? They need the washing machine. We need the washing machine.
Right.
So we had to work out a lot of just dynamic things like that. It was a great blessing to be able to have them there, especially during that season of our lives.
Yeah, for sure. True. So let's see. A couple more questions and then we'll be finished. What is the best memory you have of your family doing something together? It can be major, it can be minor, it can be whatever. What is, and I know you probably have many, and so it's difficult to say, yeah, this is the best memory I have. But think about maybe top five, not five, but one that's in your top five or top three.
Well, when you first mentioned it to me, I kind of laughed because my family didn't really like get out. We didn't do much outside. We did things
Outside, like
outside
outside.
of our home.
Okay.
We did things outside of our home, like planting a garden, raising chickens, raising dogs, all those kinds of things that we did in outdoorsy type things. But as far as traveling outside of our city or outside of our state, for sure, was not something that we did. So the memories made were mostly things like right there at home or right outside our home. Obviously, what the thing that pops up first is the Saturday night with our whole family getting together at my grandfather's house, my grandparents' house, and just having we just got together, and it was a totally different time, and nobody does that anymore that we have heard of or that we know of. But it was such a great time, and I'm so thankful that we had those times. And then if you want me to just focus on my parents and my parents would take me to a theme park called Opryland, which is no longer exists, but it was in Nashville, Tennessee, which is the capital of the state. And we would go there just about every summer. And so that was a fun time that I can remember very, very vividly.
Very cool. Very cool. One day we will maybe we will share some of those kind of stories in an episode of places you went, and I'll share some places that I went, and then maybe places that we've gone to together as our family, with myself and you and the three kids. Children. We may use the word kids, we may say children. People use either word when they talk about their children or other children. I think kids is a very informal, very casual way to say children. I think it's easier, it's quicker, easier to say the kids. Children is sounds probably a little bit better. It's probably, do you use the word kids or children mostly?
Well, I say I've got three kids. I say I've got three children. I usually say kids, but I have a real habitual way of that I say kiddos, my three kiddos. And so
Okay.
that's usually if I'm talking to someone, even online typing, or if I'm talking to someone. And I think people have picked up on that because when I say kiddos, they say that's your word. So I think people have picked up that I use kiddos more often than I do kids or children.
People probably did not say children that often. They probably said it more than any, than kids. But a lot of people would say, um, "What are the youngins doing?" The youngins, and so it was like young ones is what it is. Is what it's shortened. Is youngins is short for young ones, and so let's get the youngins and go to the store, something like this. So people have different ways of referring to different parts of the family. They may for the spouse they have a different word than husband or wife or spouse. Um, but yeah, kiddos. You just say kiddos a lot. So that's true. All right, very good. So I enjoyed this conversation we had together. I hope it's uh I hope it's beneficial for those listening and those watching. There may be some people that just listen to the episode. There are some people that watch and listen, and I hope it's good for you not just to hear my voice, not just to hear my way of speaking, but also to hear Hillary's way of speaking. We speak a little differently. We speak at a different speed than each other. And it's good. It's good practice to listen to people that speak slower, people that speak faster. And it's always good to hear different vocabulary that somebody may use even in the same family. So it's very good. I enjoyed it. I look forward to doing this again. How did you feel about it, Hillary? Did you enjoy your this episode, recording this episode? Do you enjoy this format of trying to teach? I know that you like to teach one-on-one with people. And this is a little bit different because we're not speaking to somebody, we're not talking with somebody else, only ourselves that we talk to every day. Uh,
Mhm.
so how do you like this compared to a one-on-one classroom environment?
Well, obviously, it's a little bit different because you're not one on one. You're not teaching someone. I'm not teaching you how to pronounce a certain word or how to say something or even how I say something. But I think it's really good for the learners to be able to hear, like you said, two different voices speaking in different tones, speaking in different speeds, speaking in different ways. Because I don't know that you would have ever brought up kiddos in a video
Yeah.
had we not had this conversation. So I think that's a good thing for especially for the learners.
Yeah.
It
Very
was
good.
enjoyable. I liked it.
Yeah, I did too. I look forward to doing more of these. And yeah, if you want, feel free to comment, put something in the comment section about what you might would like for us to discuss or converse about. Maybe you have a topic you would like to hear us chat back and forth about together. Maybe one day I look forward to having you as the listener participate in one of these podcasts and get a chance to know you a little bit better. I look forward to that hopefully in the near future, sometime soon. That will be great. And my name is Mark,
My name is Hillary.
and this is the English Lesson Cafe podcast. And we do this to help you.
Join the conversation.
That's right. Join the conversation. It's always more enjoyable when you're able to join the conversation. Bye bye.